Well, great to be here. Thanks for having me. So I grew up in the Midwest United States, actually in Metro Detroit. And at one point, I was living in upstate New York, and my grandfather was living in Detroit. And I don't know if anybody's ever done this journey, but it's about 5 hours in a car driving through Canada is the best that you can do, door to door, to get to see my grandfather. The alternative was to drive to the airport, go through security, go find the gate, get on the airplane, and then fly for 45 minutes, go through the airport again, get in the car, and then get to his doorstep. So as about an 8-year-old, I realized it was 5 hours in the car, or it was 5 hours door to door taking a gate flying airplane. And so as a kid, I was incredibly frustrated. I was furious. I wanted to spend more time with my grandfather, and I felt like the solution was to make air transportation more accessible to all of us. And around that time, he sent me a Popular Mechanics article from 1957. Some of you may have seen this. It has a giant picture of a flying saucer on the cover of the magazine, and it says, in the next 5 years, because of plastics, we will all be able to fly ourselves places in flying saucers, and it'll be as easy as driving a car. Well, unfortunately, that reality hasn't happened yet. So I've dedicated most of my life to making it so that aircraft are easier and safer and more accessible to people. And that's exactly what we're doing at Skyryse. Talking for a second about the problem statement. Many of you are pilots and are very familiar with this, but flying is incredibly complex. This is what a cockpit looks like today, and learning how to fly an aircraft, of course, takes dozens, if not hundreds of hours in order to realize a certain level of proficiency. And when you learn how to fly that aircraft, you're actually learning how to fly a specific platform, one make model. So that would be like learning how to drive a car and you're getting licensed to drive a Toyota Prius. It's kind of crazy. Of course, it takes more training and you can fly more machines, but the training is highly specific, as is the proficiency and the skill. Unfortunately, the pilot is kind of being relied upon as the backup for all of these systems, and ultimately results in a lot of fatalities. It results in about 1 out of 7 people graduating from flight school. That's the national statistic right now in the United States. And of course, we all know the pilot shortage that we're suffering from. These statistics are kind of staggering. Oftentimes I put them up there and I don't fill in the blanks. Here you're seeing them. This is year to date in the United States. We pulled these statistics last week. This is the number of accidents in the general aviation industry. So a little bit over 1,000, and almost 200 of those accidents have been fatal. And since these statistics were pulled, there have been 2 really tragic accidents, one of which included a highly skilled pilot who dedicated their life to safety. So we have a real problem in this industry. It basically boils down to about 38 times greater likelihood to be in an accident in general aviation than a commercial airliner. So what we've done is we said, well, part of the technology that gives the commercial airliners and even the military the ability to achieve such a high level of safety is high levels of automation and technology like fly-by-wire. That is, there is no mechanical control connection between the human muscle and the flight control surface any longer. And so what we've done is we've built a technology based upon that fly-by-wire architecture, and we've actually written an operating system on top of it. And this technology is aircraft agnostic and capable of powering all the machines that you see on the slide, the 400,000 general aviation airplanes and helicopters that are flying around the world today. Some of the benefits of this technology are already well known. They've been brought to the commercial airline industry, and that's why we have such a high level of safety. We're actually certifying our entire technology stack to that standard. So we're certifying to Part 25, that is 10 to the minus 9th, 1 catastrophic failure per about 114,000 years of continuous operation. We believe this is going to significantly accelerate the path to pilot training and proficiency. And the other thing that is really significant, today when you get into most general aviation airplanes and helicopters, it's actually mechanical connection between the pilot muscle and the flight control surface. There's really nothing in between, and there's lots of single points of failure in those systems. We replace all of that with a full triply redundant fly-by-wire architecture that we've designed and engineered in-house that's akin to and very similar to what you'd find on a commercial airliner. And this type of technology has been known to reduce pilot workload. The other thing that's really interesting is you have the ability now to start to operate these smaller aircraft in adverse weather conditions, which we've heard a little bit about already. We know if we want to build an air taxi service in the future, we definitely need the ability to fly through clouds, and we need to be able to fly vertical takeoff and landing aircraft through clouds safely. That's very challenging today, and right now the statistics don't look so great. Finally, I believe to solve the problem that I experienced as a kid, if you want to allow more people to fly more places, one of the paths to getting there is to make it easier and safer to fly. So maybe, as I was growing up, and hopefully for future generations, more people can be flying themselves places. We've been developing this technology for about 7 years, and we've had a number of people join as investors and advisors, and have really privileged to work with all of them. And Bill Ford, of course, is the great-grandson of Henry Ford. Met him a number of years ago, and he directly personally invested in Skyryse and made this statement. So we truly believe that this technology is going to open up the skies and make it more accessible for more people. Now, we haven't been developing our technology in a vacuum. We've actually been deploying pieces of the technology into the real world and learning a lot about what the end use cases look like for many years. The company was founded in 2016. In 2017, months later, we had a full-scale helicopter flying completely unmanned with no safety pilot on board. After that, we flew first responders to the scenes of emergencies in a city in Tracy, California. We put some phased array radar sensors on board, and every 911 call that came in, we dispatched that aircraft with firefighters, paramedics, and we even did an undercover mission with the FBI. After that, in Los Angeles, fortunately before COVID struck, we actually ran the highest volume air taxi service in the world to date. In the eyes of the FAA, we were a commercial airline. We had a Part 135, we hired the helicopter pilots, we had access to the pads, we even had a TCP for car service because we found Uber and Lyft weren't good enough at getting on time to the destination to go into the helicopter. We saved people on average 70% door-to-door time. We achieved a customer NPS score of 98.5. Sounds great. It was a huge problem. What we learned was, number one, 25% of days in the Los Angeles area, it is cloudy somewhere in your flight path. And for cost-effective vertical flight machines today, they really can't fly through clouds. They're not IFR rated. That means we couldn't fly. And if you were to get into your car every day, and imagine if it didn't work 25% of the time, that's like 1 day a week, we would abandon our cars. We need the ability to fly through clouds. In addition to that, we learned firsthand about the pilot shortage. There's 20,000 rotorcraft pilots in the United States right now, and a small fraction of them are proficient and safe. We've been developing the technology in the background and learning from all of these lessons, and then defining the product definition. And more recently, we started to sign major partnerships with OEMs and also end operators. And I'm really excited. This week, we announced the delivery of the first Air Methods Airbus H130. For those of you who don't know, Air Methods is the largest EMS operator and the world's largest civilian operator of rotorcraft. They do about 100,000 trips every single year, saving patients, and with 450 machines. It's a really significant business, and we're really excited to be empowering them on their missions to save lives.
Today we took delivery of the first Air Methods aircraft that we're integrating FlightOS into. It's an Airbus H130, and we're so excited. The partnership between Air Methods and Skyryse represents a big step forward for this entire industry.
What a great opportunity for Air Methods. For us, this is the future.
We're going to empower more Air Methods missions to be completed, and be completed with a much higher level of safety.
We have almost 300 bases spread around the country, and our primary focus is care of patients in their worst day. This transformational technology will allow us to lower the work in the cockpit, have better crew resource management, and focus on the quality of care that we're providing.
This aircraft does a tremendous job for us today, but we're going to see it evolve and be able to do things that today we just kind of dream about.
Single engine, twin engine, fixed wing. This will take off through our entire fleet.
So now it's up to us to install the automation that we've built and deliver it back to them. I really see this as the beginning of what we're creating together.
This puts a really clear mark in the sand, and now we're actually trying to plan and focus on how do we now incorporate this technology into our business. This is now happening in my lifetime, and it's extremely exciting for us.
So we're starting with the Airbus H125/H130. We're already in certification process, and this technology is going to start empowering air methods pilots very soon. But this goes way beyond that. Ultimately, we think this is going to power general aviation at large, small airplanes, large airplanes, all of us, if we want to fly places. We should be able to do so with a much higher level of safety and much higher level of confidence. Over the coming months, we're going to be sharing more on exactly what our technology looks like and how it works. So thank you for having us, and stay tuned.